Like what went through your head when you saw that, like the huge UFO? Was it like,
Well,
was it scary? Was it like kind of scary? Like, are they gonna abduct us and like experiment, or was it just kind of wow, this is neat? Or
well, from my father's house to the point where we saw it, the mountain, that's about a mile and a half from my father's house, and it's on the outskirts of town. Back then in the 80s, the houses weren't built going way out there, and I'm pretty sure that the road was not they didn't blacktop the road. It was still a dirt road. So, you had to have a truck, or you had to know how to handle
yeah,
your car really well. But I just remember that my cousin Reynard Faber, he's an itinerant preacher now. We were coming home from an evening of fun and games with our friends up the road, and I was watching, like, to as we're walking south toward my father's house, I was watching this orange, like, bulb
hmm.
on the left side, and he was looking to the right toward our grandma's house. Her name is Henrietta Tafoya, and her house is like right at the base of this big, steep cliff.
Oh,
So the UFO is sitting right there, like a mile and a half over the town. So I'm like, dude, check this out, right? And he's like, yeah, oh my God, it's so huge. And I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? I'm just watching this. Or he's like, no, look toward Grandma Henrietta's house. And I look over there, and I was like, wow. I mean, it was
yeah.
just like,
So it was like pretty
wow.
close to, it was like pretty close to you too, or
No, it was like a mile and a half away up
yeah,
in the sky above the
yeah,
cliff.
and
And
orange, but it looked kind of like, did it
it
look
was like,
kind of like the stereotypical, like what you see, like
I was looking at the
movie,
orange ball to the left. He was looking at this huge cigar-shaped UFO to the
like
right.
space, like spacecraft more looking,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, like I
yeah.
mean, his UFO blew my UFO away with
Yeah. Oh, so
ease.
you were too distracted by, so the whatever the
I was
orange
watching
thing.
I was
Yeah.
watching
Okay. Yeah.
an orange bulb bouncing in the
Hmm.
sky, thinking like, wow, I'm seeing something great. And
Yeah.
he's over here going like, look at
Yeah.
grandma Henrietta's house, right? So I look, and when I saw it, it was just like this. Okay, I'm going to show you. It was like a huge cigar-shaped UFO, and in the middle were multicolored lights spinning. They got
Oh.
it wrong on the show. They actually made the spacecraft look like a cigar.
Oh
Like
wow.
if you got a cigar and you
Yeah.
clip the edges and just hung it on a string. When I said a cigar-shaped UFO, I didn't mean, most of the time when people,
Yeah.
you look at a disc and then it's kind of long, they'll call it cigar shaped, but it was a disc, and the multicolored lights were spinning.
Hmm.
Now, if you go to like an airport or something, right? They have those killer spotlights that you can just see in the sky for miles. I have to say that the lights off that UFOs was much brighter, way brighter. And of course, when we saw it, I'm like, can I say what I said when I was there? Because I was just like, wow, son of a bitch, right? So I start running, and he's like, what are you doing? And, my dad was the chief of police. And I'm like, I'm going to go tell my dad. I'm going to tell my dad. And I'm just hauling ass toward the house, and he's the runner. This guy runs like 26 miles. So I'm running, and we're running, and I go to my dad's house, and he was a big wrestling fan. So he's
Okay.
watching wrestling. That's his sacred time, right? We do not disturb him at this time. I run to his house, and I'm banging on his door, and he gets up and he's like, damn it, what the hell? Who's banging on my door? And I'm like screaming, Dad, 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 you got to see this. Hurry up before it's gone. And he opens the door. I'm watching my wrestling. I was kind of hysterical. All I could do was just go, Dad, and point to the west. Just like to the west, it will be that way. So I point to the west, and he looks, and he was like, son of a bitch, right? Which kind of seemed to be the word at the time, right? So he's like, wow. And I really couldn't say anything. I was just blown away. Like, there was no fear of like, they're going to take us away, but I just wanted him to see it so nobody
Yeah.
could say like I was like, you know, dreaming or,
Yeah.
telling a lie or something. If the chief sees it, that's that, right? The buck stops there.
Yeah.
So he surprised me. He went inside. I'm like, Dad, what are you doing? He's like, he grabbed his police radio, and right in front of my cousin and I, he calls to the police dulce dispatch and just gives an all-out call. All the units, police, game and fish, look toward Henrietta Tafoya's house. And like this is a small town, so you have to say at least 70% of the people have police scanners. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of that mentality. And so like I'm pretty damn sure that everybody that had a scanner, when they heard the chief of police go, look toward Henrietta's house, there's an unidentified flying object. I mean, everyone freaked out. I could hear like all the transmissions going on. And
Yeah.
but it's that kind of a thing where like my cousin becomes an itinerant preacher when we grow up, and then my dad's the chief of police. So who could say that Alan Tafoya made this up? You know what I mean?